Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. So this time, you guys have been really into manifestation and like the power of the universe,
Oh, yeah.
right? You even sent over this transcript called "This is Why God and the Universe Wake You Up at 3:00 a.m."
Hmm.
It's a very specific time, so we're going to try to figure out why that 3:00 a.m. wake-up call might be important.
Okay.
But first, we'll break down some of the techniques and mindset shifts from this transcript for how to effectively ask the universe for what you want.
Sound good.
Okay, so one thing that really stood out in the source was this idea that the universe isn't just this like distant, impersonal force.
Yeah.
It actually describes it as a living, breathing, conscious existence.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty intense, right?
Uh-huh.
It's almost like it's saying that the universe is constantly responding to our thoughts and our emotions.
So it's not just us putting things out there.
Right. It's like we're in a constant dialogue with the universe, whether we realize it or not.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so all of our thoughts and emotions, those are like energetic signals that the universe is picking up on.
That's kind of a mind-blowing concept.
It is. It makes you think about, like, what am I unintentionally manifesting just by my everyday thoughts and feelings?
Definitely makes you want to be more mindful.
Absolutely. And the source also talked about how, like, if we have vague desires,
Yeah,
we're going to get unclear results.
makes sense.
Yeah, and it used the analogy of a radio with static. If you're not tuned into the right frequency, you're not going to get a clear signal.
So we need to be really specific about what we want.
Exactly. And it made me think like, okay, do I really even know what I want? Am I being specific enough with my intentions?
Yeah, that's a good question to ask yourself.
Right. Because if the universe is like a cosmic barista,
Mhm.
you don't want to just walk up and say, give me something hot.
Right.
You got to be like, I want a soy latte with an extra shot and whipped cream.
Exactly. You got to give them the full order.
Exactly. So speaking of being specific, the source dives into some techniques like affirmations and even gives an example. It says, I am abundant and I attract wealth and prosperity into my life. But do you think just saying phrases like that actually works? Like, what's your experience been?
Well, I think affirmations can be super powerful,
Mm.
but it's not just about repeating words.
Yeah.
You really have to embody it too.
So you're not just telling the universe what you want, but you're convincing yourself as well.
Exactly. It's like rewiring your subconscious mind to believe it.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then the source goes on to talk about visualization
Hmm.
and how we need to vividly picture the outcome we desire. Like, use all your senses, even try to feel the emotions as if it's already happened.
So like creating a mental movie where you're living the dream.
Yes. And the source says that when we do this, our brains don't necessarily know the difference between what's real and what we're imagining.
Really?
Yeah, so by visualizing so vividly, we're sending powerful messages to our subconscious, like we're aligning our energy with that outcome.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool.
Right. So if you're constantly visualizing that perfect job, that dream relationship,
Hmm.
it's like you're training your mind and your energy to match those desires.
So we're becoming a vibrational match for what we want.
Precisely. And this actually leads us to another key point the source emphasizes: gratitude.
Gratitude.
Yeah. It's not just a feel-good practice. It's actually like a high-frequency energy that attracts more good things into our lives.
Oh, so appreciating what we already have is almost like prepping ourselves to receive more, like priming the pump for abundance.
I love that analogy. It's about shifting from a place of lack to a place of abundance.
Right. So, like, instead of focusing on what we don't have, we're noticing and appreciating all the good that's already present.
Exactly.
And this ties into probably one of the biggest mindset shifts the source talks about, moving from a scarcity mentality to an abundance mentality.
Huge.
Yeah, because the source actually says we must let go of this limiting belief and embrace the truth that the universe is infinitely abundant. There is more than enough for everyone, and we are all deserving of prosperity and fulfillment.
Powerful stuff.
It is. But how do we actually make that shift? Like, how do we go from that fear-based scarcity mindset to one of abundance?
That's the million-dollar question, and it's something we'll explore further as we dive deeper into the source material.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, it's definitely a process, right? It doesn't just happen overnight.
Right.
It's like we have to unlearn those old patterns of thinking.
Yeah, so much of it is like ingrained in us from childhood or society.
Absolutely. And, the source actually outlines some advanced techniques that can help with this shift.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
So one that really stood out to me was this idea of tapping into the collective consciousness.
Collective consciousness.
Yeah, so like the source is saying that we're all energetically connected, kind of like part of this larger web.
Okay.
And when we tap into that collective energy, it can like amplify our own intentions.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, there's that phrase, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
they were all in this together.
So what does that actually look like in practice? How do we tap into that collective consciousness?
Well, the source talks about things like group meditations
Okay.
and intention circles, where people come together and focus on the same positive outcome.
So like harnessing the power of the group.
Exactly. It's like,
Yeah.
imagine that feeling you get in a crowd at a concert or a sporting event.
Right. Everyone's energy is so high.
Yeah, but instead of just cheering for a team,
Yeah.
you're directing that energy towards a specific intention.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the source also mentions community service as a way to tap into collective consciousness.
Community service. How does that work?
Well, it's like when we contribute to something larger than ourselves,
Mm.
it can actually amplify our personal energy.
Oh, so it's not just about focusing on our own desires, but recognizing that we're all interconnected.
Exactly. It's a beautiful concept, really.
It is.
And it kind of brings us to another fascinating concept that the source highlights: surrender.
Surrender.
Yeah, we touched on detaching from outcomes earlier,
Yeah.
but this is like a deeper level.
Okay, so what's the difference then? Is it just a stronger form of detachment, or is it something else entirely?
It's more about fully trusting the universe, even when things don't go according to our plan.
Oh.
Like, it's a deep recognition that the universe has our best interests at heart, even if we can't see the full picture.
Okay, so it almost sounds like faith, right?
It does, like letting go of control and trusting a higher power.
Do you ever struggle with that?
Oh, absolutely. It can be hard to release that need to control every outcome,
Mm-hmm.
but I've found that the most amazing things often happen when I do.
When you just surrender and trust the process.
Exactly. It's like magic.
I love that. And, it makes me think about those times when things haven't gone according to plan, but then something even better came along.
Yes. Like it was meant to be.
Like the universe had a different path in mind.
Right. And the source also has this interesting perspective on challenges, like those times when things don't go our way.
Uh-huh.
It suggests we see obstacles not as setbacks, but as opportunities for growth.
So like that saying, the obstacle is the path.
Exactly. It's about reframing our perspective.
Okay, but what's the benefit of looking at it that way?
Well, it allows us to learn and evolve from those difficult experiences.
Instead of just getting stuck in the negativity.
Right. Because the source emphasizes that often our greatest growth comes from overcoming obstacles.
That makes sense.
It's like, think about a time when you faced a major challenge in your life.
Oh, there have been many.
Right. But I bet looking back now, you can see how that experience ultimately led to something better.
Absolutely. It's like it forced me to grow in ways I never would have imagined.
Exactly. It's about asking, what is this teaching me? Rather than, why is this happening to me?
So challenges can actually help us get clearer on our desires and become more resilient.
Precisely. And, this ties into what the source says about self-awareness and self-reflection.
How so?
Well, it's suggesting that we need to understand how our own thoughts and emotions and behaviors might be influencing our ability to manifest.
So it's not just about focusing on what we want externally, but doing the inner work as well.
Exactly. It's about becoming conscious creators, recognizing how our inner world shapes our outer reality.
Oh, that's deep.
It is. And the source goes even deeper, talking about the importance of balance.
Balance.
Yes, like finding harmony in all areas of our lives.
So physically, emotionally, mentally.
And spiritually.
Yeah.
It's about cultivating a sense of well-being and wholeness.
It's like all the pieces need to be working together.
Right, because when we're balanced, our energy flows more freely and we're more aligned with what we want to manifest.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's a powerful concept. And the source actually recommends connecting with nature as a way to enhance this balance.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Spending time outdoors, walking barefoot on the earth, things like that.
It's just getting grounded.
Exactly. It reminds us that we're part of something larger than ourselves, which can be incredibly powerful for manifestation.
I love that.
Me too.
Yeah.
This has been such a fascinating discussion.
It really has. But I have to admit, I'm still a little hung up on that whole 3.0 AM thing.
I know, it's intriguing, right? And it's something we'll definitely explore further as we dive into the final part of this deep dive.
Okay, I'm ready. All right, let's get to the bottom of this 3.00 AM mystery. What's the source actually say about it?
Well, it's not super explicit about, like, why we wake up at that specific time,
Okay.
but it does connect it to intuition and spiritual awakening.
So maybe those 3.0 AM wake-up calls are more than just insomnia. Like maybe it's prime time for intuition.
That's what it seems to suggest. It says during those quiet hours when the world is still, our intuition might be heightened, like we're more receptive to messages from the universe.
Hmm. Like the veil is thinner or something?
It's a cool thought. And remember, the source was all about listening to our intuition throughout this whole manifestation
Oh,
journey.
right, right.
It even gives some techniques to strengthen it.
Besides coffee at 3 a.m. Yeah. What else does it say?
Well, like meditation, journaling, and paying attention to our body's signals.
Oh, interesting.
Even dream analysis.
So it's about tuning into all these different channels of inner wisdom.
Exactly. Because intuition can speak to us in different ways,
Yeah.
like through a sudden insight or a recurring dream or even just a gut feeling.
So it's about paying attention to those whispers, those subtle cues.
Yes. And the more we listen and trust those whispers, the stronger that intuitive muscle gets.
It's like anything, the more you practice, the better you get.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But how do you think intuition relates to all this talk about balance we were discussing?
Well, the source was saying that intuition can guide us towards balance in all those areas: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual.
It's like a compass
Yeah.
pointing us in the right direction.
Yeah. So if we're feeling kind of off, our intuition can help us course correct.
Exactly. It can help us make choices that are more in alignment with our highest good.
Oh, I like that. Well, we've covered a lot in this deep dive. It's clear that asking the universe effectively is a lot more than just making a wish.
It is. It's about understanding that the universe is this conscious force, and then getting crystal clear on our desires, believing we're worthy of receiving them, and then using all the tools we've talked about.
Right. Affirmations, visualization, gratitude, and most importantly, making those mindset shifts from scarcity to abundance, from attachment to surrender.
Yes. And from separation to connection, remembering we're all part of this amazing web of life.
Exactly. It's a lifelong practice, really. But it's a journey of self-discovery and growth. And the source reminds us that it's not about being perfect, it's about progress.
It's about taking small steps each day to align with our truest selves and create a life that feels good.
Love it. So to wrap up, think about one small step you can take today to align with your desires and tap into those infinite possibilities. Maybe set an intention, practice gratitude, or simply tune in and listen to your intuition.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep believing, and keep creating the life of your dreams.